The NBA season tips off on Tuesday, and the most talked about rookie since LeBron takes center stage in the very first game. I'm Chris Hassel. Thank you for joining us here on the CBS Sports YouTube page. We are about to attack Zion Williamson from all angles. Will he be the first rookie all-star in nearly a decade? Will his Pelicans make the playoffs? And which props should you hit before New Orleans' opener in Toronto against the defending champs? You've got questions, we've got answers, and we've got ways for you to line the pocketbook as well. Running the three-man weave with Rip Hamilton and Raja Bell. Fellas, watching Zion this preseason, what has impressed you the most?
You know, I think his ability to finish through contact at the NBA level has been better than I thought it would be. That was a question mark I had. Obviously, in college, you're playing against, some big guys, but not everyone on the court is an NBA player and has NBA size. And so I questioned whether some of the finishes that weren't at the rim, was he going to be able to have the same success rate at the NBA level? So far, he has.
And for me, him averaging 23 points. I mean, for a young kid that's only 19 years old to come in this grown man's league and still be effective on the floor. And a lot of people didn't have them type of expectations for him. I thought when coming in, especially for his first couple games in preseason, he would average anywhere between 15 to 16 points. But he's averaging 23 points a game. The last person that averaged 23 points a game was nobody since 2005. The closest person was Kevin Durant, who only averaged 18 points a game. So his effectiveness on the floor, he's very efficient out there. He can finish with the best of them. I think this is an excellent start for Zion Williamson.
Had 29 against the Bulls back on October the 9th, 26 against the Jazz, a double-double against the Spurs on October the 13th. He's not perfect, though. In your opinion, what does he need to improve on to become that superstar many of us expect him to be?
Well, I think he has to get a jump shot. I mean, I think that's been the biggest knock on him since he came into this year's draft is can he get a little medium-range jump shot? Can he extend his range all the way out to the three-point line? But I always say if they can't stop him in the paint, where he's shooting 70% from the field, 70% from the field. Some guys in the league don't even shoot 70% from the free throw line. He's shooting 70% from the field, and this guy is unstoppable. I know when I played, people used to always say I couldn't shoot threes, and my answer was, well, guys got to stop me from getting to the basket. So until guys can stop him from the basket, he doesn't need to get a jump shot.
Yeah, I would agree. Like if you're just talking about what he could improve on, the jump shot certainly. I think he should be a better rebounder than he is right now. Like and clearly his focus has been on getting buckets. New Orleans plays an up and down style, but I think with the physicality that he brings to the table and his sheer size, 6.5 boards a game is a little light. I'd like to see him get to the glass at a higher rate, both offensively and defensively. They want to get out in transition. They want to run. If you get one of your better ball handlers the ball off the rim in a rebounded situation, that's igniting your break even further. So that'd be another thing that I think he could work on going forward.
One thing he did at Duke last year was shoot the three better than people thought he was going to be able to, and he's taken some threes. He's made some threes. He's missed some threes as well, but he says if you leave him open, there's going to be a lot more where that came from in the regular season.
I was open, so I shot it. I think people kind of over-exaggerate the whole can't shoot thing. I'm very capable of shooting it, so they want to leave me open, I'm going to shoot it every time.
But Raja, you said that's the one thing, and Rip too, that he needs to improve on, the shooting. I mean, if you're defending him right now, as he is, as a rookie, how do you attack him?
Oh, I'm on a short closeout all day. I'm daring you to shoot the jump shot. Look, he'd have to prove to me that he could knock that down proficiently. I think every coach in the league is going to have the same scouting report. Whether you're on a primary closeout to him or he's behind, they were running him on the backside of pick and roll a lot.
Yeah.
And then that closeout was coming in hot and he was just turning the corner. Everyone's going to have the book in the regular season and they're going to be told to close out short to him. If I'm Zion, I agree with Rip. I'm not going to just shoot threes to try to prove to everyone that I can shoot threes. This year isn't going to be about stretching my range and developing a three-point shot. This year is going to be about me getting buckets, being efficient in the paint, figuring out how I can get those buckets in transition and around the rim at the NBA level. I'll work on stretching the range and proving that I can shoot threes going into next season, going into the summer. That wouldn't be my primary focus, though, going into this year.
And like Raja said, you got to have a body on him at all time, but give him space. Similar to how when LeBron first came in the league, we knew how great of an athlete he was but you knew you had to keep him out of the paint. But when you move Zion to the 4 and the 5, you know, that makes defenders a little uncomfortable guarding him. Usually 5s are usually guarding guys that's playing back to the basket. So he's able to play out on the perimeter. He's still able to attack guys, especially in transition. So I think when you guard him, you just got to give him his space and live or die by his jump shot.
Rip, as somebody that needed to improve your three-point shot, and that's something that Zion's going to try to work on, not just the three-point shot, but the mid-range jumper and the deep jumper. What's some advice to give him as a youngster? He's just 19 years old.
Well, take what the defense gives you. I mean, a lot of times when you run in the offense, especially pick and roll and a lot of pin downs, a lot of times teams are going to give you dare shots. He got to be able to take them dare shots and take them with confidence. He doesn't got to get caught up in going out there trying to prove everybody wrong and go out there and average 4 or 5 3-point jump shots a game. No. You are best at what you do, and that's finishing at the basket. Like I told you before, he's scoring at a high clip, especially in the paint. He scored 68 points out of his 93 in preseason in the paint. So when you have that kind of stat right there, and you have that ability, he probably has one of the better second jumps in the NBA, similar to your guy, Sean Marion in Phoenix. He's a guy that can go after his own shot. He can offensive rebound, so I think he'll be very effective as long as he stick to his game.
Sean Marion's a really good name and a good comp for, you know, a guy who could shoot the jump shot, but didn't try to force the jump shot just so people would say he could shoot jump shots. He would take what you gave him. You know, Zion, technically speaking, there's a little bit of a disconnect with his energy flow on that jumper.
Yeah.
He's way too big and strong to basically shoot a flat-footed shot, right? So, you know, why I say I don't think he should be worried about taking the next step as a jump shooter is because I think there needs to be some sort of overhaul with the shot. Like, he's got to put a lot of work into that. And quite frankly, you don't have the time to do that right now because, you know, the Pelicans are a team that in their estimation could be, you know, vying for a playoff spot. And there are bigger things for him to focus on as a rookie. So the jumper could come, but I would shelve it for a while. You know, play off of your drive and your ability to finish in the paint and develop that jumper over the course of a career.
How old were you guys when you first became a rookie in the NBA? Were you into your 20s?
I was 21.
Yeah, I was 21. Yeah,
okay.
22.
Zion's 19 years old.
Yeah.
Yourself. You're basically a sophomore at Connecticut, sophomore at FIU. How does Zion be a leader in that locker room as a teenager?
That's a, you know, look, what you wouldn't want him to do is hop in there and be inorganic about it, feeling like he had to take the bull by the horns and force his leadership style down anyone's throat. There are plenty of grown men in that locker room. Drew Holiday in particular, who has been there with the Pelicans and has been a leader in that locker room for a long time. So, you know, navigating that can be a little difficult. You don't want to step on his toes, right? Like Drew Holiday is a great player in the NBA. So I would be myself. I would be organic at all times, and then I would lead by example in terms of my work ethic and my dedication to becoming a better player. So when those vets got there, I'd be in the gym, getting my work in, letting them know that I was serious about that. When those guys left the court, I got these young legs, I'm going to still be out there working on my free throw shooting or whatever else a skill development or a player development coach could help me with. And hopefully, like, my work ethic and the way I acted around the building would entice people to follow me, but I wouldn't go in there heavy-handed just trying to get people to follow me right off the bat.
Exactly. Lead by example. He doesn't have to go in there and be a vocal leader. He's not a vocal leader. If you've seen him at Duke, you know, you had other guys really step up, like R.J. Barrett was the guy that actually spoke a lot, especially in the locker room. But when you got veterans on this team, you got guys like you said, Drew Holiday, and you got a guy like Alonzo Ball, you know, who had to learn how to be a vocal leader. If it was any knock on him coming into the NBA, could he lead by example from a vocal standpoint, him being a point guard? That's a little different when you're a guy that's playing a power forward and you got other guys on your team that are young guys that's really trying to establish himself. I think with him, it's all about his work ethic. He's already doing it by when he goes to different appearances, he brings another player with him. So that just tells you that he just want to be a part of be one of the guys in the locker room. He's not going out there trying to say, all right, I got to be the man. But if I just go out there and let my work ethic be the cause of it, then guys will respect that.
Zion Williamson is the focal point. He's the one that everybody's going to be watching for, but they do have some good pieces around him. You mentioned Lonzo Ball. You mentioned Drew Holiday, who's been there and in the locker room as a team leader. The over-under is set at 39 wins. What are your realistic expectations for this team?
Yeah, I think they hit the over on that. I think they're playoff. They have playoff potential. Now, the West is a loaded conference, and whether they get in or not, Ultimately, I don't know, because you'll have teams like the Lakers that weren't in last year that you assume will get in, and none of those playoff teams from last year really took significant steps backwards. So you have to look at it that way. But I think they're going to be a very, very high-powered offense. They have a lot of weapons that can get out in transition. They're going to hang a lot of points on the board, and they are going to be fighting to get into the playoffs. Whether they wind up at 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, I think it'll be a really, really close race at the bottom of that Western Conference, and they'll be right in the mix.
And I would have to say the over too, but I don't see them making it to the playoffs. If you looked at last year, the Clippers got in last year winning 48 games. And I don't think that they can win 48 games. I think they're a young, energetic team. They're going to have their growing pains. They got to play fast. I like putting Drew Holiday and Alonzo Ball out on the floor at the same time. Now you got 2 point guards that can initiate the offense, and you got Zion being able to run the floor the way that he's capable of doing. So I still think that, okay, they might get about 42, 43 wins, but not enough to get to the playoffs.
Well, they're an underdog in the very first game of the season. It's the first NBA game of the season. The early game on Tuesday night. They're north of the border in Toronto. The Raptors are going to raise that banner. Of course, they don't have Kawhi Leonard anymore, but the Raptors are 5.5-point favorites in this game. What do you expect in the very first game between two new-look clubs? I mean, the Raptors have some players back, but they lost their big one.
Well, I think New Orleans is going to get that win, and the only reason why I say that is because anytime you're the Raptors, being in that situation in Detroit, it's an emotional roller coaster anytime you raise that banner. Guys are so excited to get the rings. Guys are so excited to see that banner go up, and sometimes you forget about the game. So I feel like New Orleans is a young team that really want to make a statement early, and this is a perfect opportunity for them to do it not at home, because a lot of times when your first game's at home, it's a lot more pressure. You going out there and succeeding and playing well just from playing in your own building. So for them to go out on the road, this is a great opportunity, in my opinion, for them to go out there and get that win.
Yeah, you brought up some good points. That night is going to be very, very emotional. It's going to be hard for them to get their thoughts and emotions in check early enough. And playing a team like New Orleans, who can hang a number up there, it might be too late by the time you figure out what's going on. I am interested, though, not only to see Zion, but I want to see some of those other players. I want to see what Lonzo looks like playing a full game. I want to see what Brandon Ingram and company look like in that offense. And from there, you can start to figure out what number they wind up, whether they're a 42 or a 43. The preseason's been great. And there have been a lot of great numbers hung up there by Zion, but I want to see what the rest of those guys look like around him.
I don't need explanations, but just a yes or no answer. Zion Williamson, Rookie of the Year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Without a question.
There you have it. Rip Hamilton and Rajah Bell here with us on the CBS Sports HQ and the CBS Sports YouTube page. Okay, so for a Vegas angle here, some odds. Zion is minus 225 to win Rookie of the Year, a heavy favorite there. But if you want to get crazy, he's plus 10,000 for MVP and plus 6,500 to win Defensive Player of the Year. Let's bring in Sportsline's Tim Doyle, the best hair in the Big Ten. He was an all Big Tenner at Northwestern back in the day. You never got to realize your dream in the NBA like Zion is about to. Let's look at these odds here. Minus 225, I don't see any value there. He is one of the biggest favorites we've ever seen for Rookie of the Year.
He should be the favorite. Now, the odds were like minus 140, minus 160 only 2 weeks ago. So heavy money has come in on Zion, and rightfully so, because he has been outstanding in preseason, shooting over 70% from the field, averaging over 20 points a game. And I think the big number, Chris, is 30. No, he's not 30 years old. He might be, actually. No, I mean, he's built like a 30-year-old. But the Pelicans are going to play 30 national TV games. So he's going to get crazy exposure. Now, the value, I believe, Chris, we all know who I love. It's Ja Morant. You and I called one of his games a few years ago. One thing that stood out to me was his athleticism. He has that Russell Westbrook, Derrick Rose type athleticism. Now, what I think is going to make him a better NBA player is his basketball knowledge. He is an excellent passer, and his usage is going to be through the roof. Mike Conley was near a 30 usage-wise for the Grizzlies, dominating the basketball. When they got the second pick in the NBA draft, they went like this to Mike Conley. Bye-bye. See you later, Mike. We have the future in Memphis. So the best part of that game was seeing Ja Morant live. The second best part of that game, You and I drove as fast as we could to Nashville, and we partied that night, Chris Hassel.
That we did, Tim, and we'll leave it at that. You are the prince of the Ohio Valley Conference, going with Ja Morant for the value there at plus 450 to win Rookie of the Year. As far as Defensive Player of the Year goes, Zion has top 15 odds right now to win Defensive Player of the Year. Is it worth a sprinkle at plus 6,500?
No, it's not worth $2. It's not worth $1.50. It's not worth any money at all, because here's a number, 6.5. It's all the rebounds he's averaging in preseason. Now, with his team having more talent than Ja Morant, you got to think like, all right, how is he going to make plays other than scoring? Like, if he really put his mind to it, I believe he could average 12, 13 rebounds a game. Like, if Holiday and J.J. Redick and Ball and all those guys were launching up shots, if he was like, hey, I'm just going to strictly be a rebounder, if he really wanted to focus on winning this award, I think he could. But the fact that he's having all this success from an offensive standpoint in the preseason, and his numbers aren't around 8, 9, 10 rebounds a game, where I think they should be for a guy that's that strong, that explosive, that athletic, I don't think it's worth it. I'll give you a rookie maybe to sprinkle some on, Matisse Thybulle for the 76ers. Talked to some scouts with the Sixers, and they said his defensive prowess is something they've never seen before. Now, last year at Washington, he was National Defensive Player of the Year, and they say he guards like he's 5'11". He's not that. You see the long arms, you see the crazy quickness. I think the Sixers are going to be a team that's going to be fighting for a championship, and he's going to play a valuable role. So if you want to sprinkle some on a rookie, Zion's not the guy.
Yeah, sprinkle it on Thybulle, not Zion Williamson at plus 6,500 to win Rookie of the Year. Something a little bit more, I guess, attainable for Zion Williamson. That would be to make the All-Star game. Now, it doesn't happen often. The last rookie to make an All-Star game was Blake Griffin back in 2011. Do you expect Zion to do it?
Yes. Now, making an All-Star game means absolutely nothing to me. It actually infuriates me when they kind of use it as a reference of greatness. Like, this guy was a 14-time All-Star. It's like, Chris, do you know how you make the All-Star team? You accumulate a lot of votes. It just means you're popular. It actually doesn't mean you're a good basketball player. Sure, people probably vote for you because you've had outstanding years, but this is all a fan's game. I don't watch the NBA All-Star game. When I do, I always bet over because I'm a sick man and there's nothing else on that night. But as far as that being an accolade that people rely on, like, hey, that guy made the All-Star team last year, it's like, man, making the All-Star team is not that big a deal. Like, Kyle Korver made an All-Star team one year, so I don't really hold that to a lot of weight, but he's really popular. That's why they're playing so many times on national TV. He's must-see TV. People care about the Pelicans. So, yes, I think at the end of the day, he will make the All-Star team.
You mentioned that the Pelicans will be on national TV about 30 times. They only won 33 games last season. The over-under this season is 39. You like the over or the under?
I like over here. Now you're going to say, Tim, they're in the West, and there's a lot of tough teams out there. But I think a lot of these guys have something to prove. Lonzo Ball has something to prove. Now, you go back and dive into his numbers with the Lakers, they actually were pretty good. Like, he averaged 10 points, 6.5 assists, and over 6 rebounds. And that's playing alongside of LeBron. I think he's going to have somewhere near 8, 9, 10 triple-doubles this year. If I had to set a line, okay, I would put the over-under 7.5 triple-doubles for Lonzo Ball. It's basically a mind bet. So all I could lose, Chris, at the end of the day is my mind. But I think he's going to have an outstanding year in New Orleans, leading this squad, pushing tempo, making plays. We already saw the half-court pass to Zion that went viral in the preseason. And then you surround him with some shooters. I think the Pelicans are going to try to go out there and win every regular season game. I can't say that for the Lakers. I can't say that for the Clippers because of load management. Not sure they're going to be doing that to Zion in his rookie year, but I think the Pelicans are deep. They're undefeated in the preseason, and I think Lonzo Ball is ready to make a huge splash in his career.
Plus 225 to make the playoffs in the Western Conference. Tim Doyle likes the over on 39 wins. How about a win in the opener? The Raptors host the Pelicans. They'll be raising the banner north of the border. No Kawhi Leonard there in Toronto anymore. The Raptors are minus 5.5. What side you going on?
I like the Pelicans here. Like, this is one of the more important games the Pelicans have ever played. On national TV, they're playing the defending champs. Like I said, people are finally caring about Pelicans basketball, and they want to carry that momentum from the preseason to the regular season. Like for the Raptors, emotions are going to be high. They don't have their star player, but they still have a ton of experience. Kyle Lowry's still in the backcourt. I don't think they're as explosive as the Pelicans. And I think the Pelicans, like, this game means something to them. They play 82 games. Not every night a game's going to mean something, but like they want to set a positive tone. For the Raptors, they're going to have their family there. They're going to be celebrating. It's just another game. It's a regular season game. Like, for the Pelicans, they want to send a message to the rest of the NBA. And when I start looking at that roster, I love their second team. The guys that they're going to bring off the bench, I think, can compete with anybody throughout the entire NBA. So, like the Pelicans in this matchup, not sure they're going to win, but that 5.5-point cushion, I like that a lot.
Timmy Likey, thank you so much. Tim Doyle, he is our sports line expert. One hair strategically out of place.